we've tried to answer all of your questions, and we worked on this presentation last Wednesday and Thursday. There were probably some questions that came in after that maybe we hadn't answered. Or maybe as you sit here, you're thinking, what haven't they answered? Or I have this question. So at this point in time, anyone who has a question, what we'd like for you to do is come over here to your right, our left, line up, we'll give you the microphone. We'd like for you to state your name so that we all know who you are and to ask your question so that we can answer it to the best of our ability. If we cannot answer the question, we'll find out and get back to everybody. If it's an HOA question, we don't have anything to do with it, but we'll be glad to ask Joe Studley if he'd fumble through it. And if he can't do it, his sidekick, Don Jarmus, no, he talks like Vic. We're not going to put Don in, we're not going to give him the microphone. That's all in fun. Right, Donnie? Putt's good, buddy. So, are there any questions from the membership? Is there anybody that'd like to come up and ask a question?
Hello, everybody. My name is Dean Pickley. I think I know most of you here. First of all, I'd like to say that I came to Twin Eagles when Bonita Bay still owned it. It was a very scary time when we found out that they were in trouble, okay? And I attended all the meetings with Ronto and Angelo Gordon, and most of us were really happy that we had somebody that was going to purchase the club. It was a really scary point at that time. And I think the deal that was ironed out was exceptional, okay? Yes, there could have been a lot more things that we wanted to get, but it's very difficult to get. And I think one thing that people forget about Ronto, okay? Ronto's first obligation is to make money for Angelo Gordon, okay? They're a management company. Angelo Gordon put up the money, and that's what they're supposed to do, make money for them. Okay, yes, we wish they would have put new greens on the Talon course, but that does not make money for Angelo Gordon, okay? Building the pool, putting the pool in, and the center does sell homes, so that's why they do that type of thing. My question is, RSM, the consulting company, do they have an ongoing relationship with Ronto at this point?
So, tell me if I answer this wrong. RSM has a small relationship with Angelo Gordon. RSM is the 5th largest audit company in the United States. They're really good at what they do. They audit and have a relationship with an office in Chicago with Angelo Gordon, okay? That's the only relationship that I'm aware of at this point in time that RSM has. To clarify, you all hear that the club appointed RSM to be our third party. I will tell you that when RSM was here last week, gave us a presentation, after they were done and Phil Newman left, Andrea looked at all of us and said, are you okay with RSM? Are you okay blessing them as a consultant to help you, the members, through this process? And we were all okay with it. We think that they are an exceptional group that we can draw on. That doesn't mean that we won't have other people come in and talk to us. I think the plan is to have other consultants come in, but that RSM will be the building block to help us transition the club going forward. Does that answer your question, Dean? Yes. Anything else? Yes, please.
I'm Ron Burke. I live on Wisteria, and I may have missed it, but in the presentation of what the county considers our club, I missed what they consider the front part to be.
Ron, the reason you missed the front part is it's not part of the club. The front part, the gatehouse, is part of the HOA. It's not part of the club. Joe Studley. Where's Joe? Yeah. Joe, can you stand up? Oh, you are. I'm sorry. Joe, would you just give me a yes or a no? Is the front of the club and the gatehouse part of the HOA? Yes. Thank you, sir. Hopefully that answers your question. I don't know you. Have you been here very long? Would you come up and take the microphone, please? Because I want everybody to see his good side.
Hi, I'm Rory Schnitter, and I'm on the ad hoc committee where we have looked into this problem of who owns the gatehouse and what its status is. The gatehouse is located on Lot 68, and Lot 68 is owned by Twin Eagles Development, AGR LLC, which is the organization that owns all of the lots. It is the Twin Eagles Development Company. We have had some discussions regarding the eventual status of Lot 68. In the documents, Lot 68 has some special status. It has, for example, the status of being an exception to the commercial activity exclusions in that they can operate a sales center there. That exclusion will expire at a point when all of the lots, or not actually when all the lots are sold, but when Ronto stops actively trying to sell lots in Twin Eagles. At that point, Lot 68 can be converted to other uses by the owner, which is Twin Eagles Development. And among those uses that it can be converted to would be residential, but not limited to residential. It could be converted to something else. It could be converted to, for example, recreational use. Lot 68 is owned by Twin Eagles Development pretty much the same way as all the other lots are owned by their owners in the estates. For example, Bernie Maddie owns a lot which has an easement for the golf course portion that is on his lot. Well, Lot 68 is owned by Twin Eagles Development, and it has given easements to locate the gatehouse, the road, and other parts of the infrastructure essential to the Twin Eagles Development. So the Homeowners Association does not own the gatehouse. Well, I take it back. They own the gatehouse, but they don't own the lot on which the gatehouse is built. Is that all as clear as mud?
Thank you, Rory. Okay, so I'm sure that's clear. I hope what's real clear to you is that all of us have nothing to do with the HOA except as individual homeowners. Okay? Any other questions from the group? Please. Please come on up so we can facilitate this. If you could come over here and line up, it will work a lot closer for us. Neil.
Good morning. My name's Neil Halliday. I'd just like to know what the committee is intending to do in terms of retaining legal counsel.
Thank you. Very good question, Neil. We have, the ATB has no income to hire legal counsel. The club does. I will tell you at our last meeting when John Farquhar was there, John looked at us and said, as you get close to your governance of your documents, you need to have legal counsel. It was very interesting because in our first meeting, we were told you're not going to have legal counsel. Okay? The club's attorney is saying it's in your best interest to go do that. But he looked at us and said, if you work with attorneys, wait till it's the right time so you don't overpay. So we're going to have to figure out as we get closer, do we get an attorney and how do we pay for it? And so as we get closer and we get close to the board of directors being elected and we have those documents, we're either going to have to, one, negotiate with the attorney not to get paid until we take over the club. Two, ask for all of you to reach in your pocket, which you're so gracious to do, to help us fund outside of the club an attorney. Or three, do nothing. The third one's probably not a very good option. So as we get close, we're either going to get an attorney that we feel very comfortable with, and we'll look for guidance from other people in this room to help us select, that will wait until after turnover to get paid, or we're going to ask for donations from the membership to help us right away. That depends on how long the process is going to take, and we'll know more as we get through this process. Okay? Does that help you, Neil? Yes.
I haven't said anything yet.
I saw your paper.
Just so I can remember. You had mentioned there are several negative issues. Oh, I'm sorry. Steve Reamer. I live on Wicklow. There's several negative issues, some that can be fixed, some that cannot be fixed. I would like to know what issues you consider negative and those that can be fixed and that what can't be fixed. Somebody else talked about that they're raising a lot of issues with Ronto, questions to be addressed, but I don't know what those questions are that you're raising with Ronto that you're trying to solve. Several of the issues, two questions have already been answered that I wrote down, but I would suggest with respect to legal advice, I would think that there are a lot of attorneys who would love to represent this community at Takeover, who would be more than happy to provide an hour or 2 hours of complimentary introductory services and just ask the simple questions. We are in the process of being taken over, and what issues should we as a community be raising with the developer? I think you don't have to wait 4 months to ask that basic question. So if I was doing it, the first people that I would be speaking to is getting legal advice simply to find out what rights that we have as a community, what rights Ronto has, and because this issue of as is, I understand the concept, but there has to be, they just can't walk away. So anyway, that's just my own thoughts, but I would like to know what issues, where are we now in addressing the questions and issues with Ronto?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in here, but you asked for issues. I'll give you one issue. This is me personally. I wish we would have an elected ATB. It's out of our hands. The developer controls it. So what do? These people up here, you know what they decided? I want to be a part of the process and help as best I can. I want to try and be positive. Because what's our options? Either participate and help, or on January 1, 2019, we'll find a key under our door. That doesn't sound like a very good solution to me, but that's just me. We all have our own thoughts, okay? So that's that. Attorneys, we've been together for 30 days. It's an issue. I'm betting that this group goes and seeks legal advice sooner rather than later. There's a lot of smart people, and then there's me. So I think that's what we'll do. I don't know for sure. That's not a commitment. But we have a group of members that you heard Vic talk about earlier, the focus group. We may turn to them to help understand who they have found to be the best advisors in the legal field, because they've done a lot of work with it. And so we'll probably turn to them and ask them for some suggestions as we move forward. But we haven't decided on that, but it's top of mind. It's definitely top of mind. Does that help, Steve? Does that? As is, you're right, as is. What's as is mean? There's a list of questions up here that have been submitted by members. We tried our very best to answer all those questions through the process. If you would like to see what some of those other questions are, we got handouts out here. I can't remember all of them, all right? As is one, legal advice is one. Who's going to, how are we going to transition management is one. Are the managers that are here today going to be here later? Are we going to hire a management company and pay for that? There's a whole bunch of issues that we got to transition through. A lot of those questions are up here. We decided not to put them all up here to bore people, but they are here, and we tried to answer them to the best of our ability. John? The meeting just went to 2 hours.
I promise this will be shorter. You know, I think the answer to that question is we don't know all the issues yet. And we will uncover those as we go through the process. What we're attempting to do from here forward is to detail that transition process. And so I'm sure we'll have more issues popping out as we go through that exercise. We also have talked about legal, back to Neil's question. And in our minds, you know, we don't have the final answers on that, but we're going to need to have legal people involved when we're developing these governance documents. And that's going to be a long, drawn-out process. Right now, we hope to get started on that late this spring and do it over the course of the summer. So we're probably going to need legal people involved before too long. We have gotten a commitment from John Farquhar to go ahead and start redlining our current agreement. And it's a little bit complicated because there are carry-forward rights in the membership agreement that have to transfer to the next agreement. We got to rewrite our code of regulations and all the rules that go with that in order to register as an LLC. So there's lots and lots of iterative process to be done, which we'd hope to get after over the summer, and we'll have to communicate that back and forth between the membership for their input. When we went through that exercise as the focus group, we had several meetings to lay down the document that we had. We went out and we got feedback. We incorporated a lot of that and reviewed it with our legal staff. So that's a long process, and we'd like to get a jump on that before we get into an elected board and have to have those people do that. It won't be final, but if we had a framework that we could hand to them, it would help save them an awful lot of time. Just to go back to Dave's point, we've also talked about issues that have flushed out to us, like, do we have the right to bring in third-party inspectors? The initial response to that was, no, you're not going to need to do that because it's as is. But in order to have a good, responsible process where we do due diligence, we're holding tight to say, you know what, we want to bring in environmental inspectors and we want to bring in an engineering study. Doesn't mean that anything that they uncover will have to be fixed from Ronto, but it'll be talking points. And there will probably be issues like that that flush out all the way through. So, you know, that's an ongoing process, and it's a great question, and, you know, it'll evolve over time. John.
Hi, I'm John McCarthy on Wicklow. The basic question I have is with the turnover of the assets and all that, Vic actually just started to mention it. Who's it going to be turned over to? It's not us individually. I assume, as Vic just mentioned, there'll be an LLC. that process, if we wait very long, you're going to have everybody leave April, May, and when are they going to look at the documents? Because everybody's going to have to see those documents.
So, John, to answer your question, I'm a sales guy. I'm not a tax guy. I'm not an attorney. I like to go get those people to go do it for me. We don't know what kind of corporation we're going to be. Are we going to be non-for-profit? Are we going to be for-profit? What are the pluses and minuses? We need to get people to help us understand what we want to be going forward and write the documents towards that. We believe that the board of directors will either accept all the work that we do or they will not accept it, and they'll amend it once they get their hands around it. But I have found, and there are people with better legal minds than mine, that's for sure, that they can take and they can form an LLC relatively quickly. But it's going to be the board of directors and the membership. I would assume that they would want the membership to vote on it from a fiduciary responsibility as we move forward. And so, yes, we have some work to do with that. We need to get some good advisors to tell us, should you be profit or not for profit? What are the implications of that? What are the tax implications moving forward? And so we're just on the start of all of that information as we move forward. But we know it's something we have to get to.
Yeah, I think it just points out to the earlier question. I think we need to get the legal advice earlier than later.
You know, that's a great opinion, and everybody has different opinions. And so to that, we can go get legal advice, and we'll look at how to go do that. Is everybody going to pay for it and everybody in, or is everybody not in? So,
Getting back to your other question where Ronto's attorney said, you know what? Getting back to the earlier question where Ronto's attorney basically said, you know, wait till later, but you probably should get one. Well, I'm an attorney. I know, not in Florida, back in New York, I couldn't go into a meeting without telling the other side, if they're unrepresented, to have an attorney. And if they did have an attorney, I couldn't meet with their people at all without that presence. So.
I think we just found somebody that's going to help us. Because obviously this group needs a lot of help. But those are the things that we're trying to figure out and trying to decide. And when do we start paying for it? You know? And we've been through this before with the focus group, and 60% of the people will pitch in and pay, and the other 40 won't. Is that fair? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Trust me, we will figure it out.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Doug Wilson. I'm one of those folks that's been around a long time that probably a lot of people don't know. Actually moved in here in 2007, own a home on Bramble, and now currently reside in Dundee. Vic, your summary of what's happened, from my perspective, was very much on target on an overall basis. I'd like to thank this group for taking on this transition period. I think it's obviously a very tough time for all of us. I'd also like to thank the Ronto Group folks. I don't know if there's any representatives here, but from my perspective, without them stepping forward when they did, they really saved the club on behalf for all of us here now to be able to enjoy as we do today. My question, David, when you went through the assets that we're going to acquire, there's a pump house on that lake that you referenced that's owned by the Conservation Resources Group. So one question is, what's the status of that property? Is it part of the maintenance facilities or not? And if not, who owns it? And then I think one of the things, and probably can't answer this question today, but what are our obligations and what will be our relationship with the Conservation Resources Group going forward, including, as my understanding, Ronto currently pays that group for the water to be able to irrigate our golf courses. And how do we make sure, as a club turns over to us, that we actually continue to retain those rights? Because obviously without irrigation, these golf courses will not be in the shape that they are today. So.
Bruce, you want to take the first part of that question? Bruce Bach, our Director of Maintenance for the golf courses.
Yeah. My understanding is that the HOA pump station, which is located along Twin Eagles Boulevard by the big lake on number 13 Eagle, the HOA pump station is owned by RSM. I tried to reach out to Ken Bloom to get confirmation on that. I haven't heard back from him. Mr. Snitter, I gave you some faulty information. RCS. Excuse me, RCS. And the Ronto Group signed a contract with RCS that agrees that we pay a certain amount per $1,000 or per 1,000 gallons for the next 20 years. And it goes out quite a ways, that contract. It's based on some formula. I forget exactly how the formula works, but it goes up a few cents or a fraction of a cent every year. Does that start to answer it?
I think that helps. There's probably a lot of legalese with that.
There is. It's a thick document.
So the other part is that most of you probably don't know, but I live on Maidstone, and my water, I pay a bill to Conservation Resources to water my yard, as most of us do that own individual properties not part of an HOA. So that's just one more thing. You know, it was a part of the deal way back when that. Why did it happen? You know, at this point, who cares? I mean, it is what it is. Does that help, Doug? Yeah. Yep. Yep. Got it. Super. Great. Sin?
Hi, everybody. I'm Cindy Garrison. My husband Lloyd and I have been here since 2002, and now we live on Hedgestone. I just want to thank these guys. This is a really tough job, first of all, to be appointed, not elected, and to stand up here and take a lot of initiative and take a lot of, I guess it's going to be hard work going forward. But I have to tell you, I am so excited by the concept of us turning over, by this club finally belonging to us. It's been a long time coming. I'm thrilled. But Dave, my question is, what can we do to help? I know we cannot elect a board of directors right now. I understand there's legal issues involved with that. But you can appoint committees. Can you not start appointing committees to help you? Let's get a committee together to deal with some legal issues. Let's get a committee together to deal with third-party inspections. That's a lot of work to be done. Let's take a look at putting together ethics committees, all the things we're going to need going forward. Why wait?
Thanks, Cindy. That's some very good questions. Committees. I think that the members on the transition board hear that. We probably think, some of us think it's a good idea. There may be some people that don't think it's a good idea. And we will have to talk with club management that will then go back to Ronto, because they will have to approve any committees inside. Now, I don't know how I say this to you. So I'll just say it, because I'm trying to be honest and direct. If people want to go form their own committees outside of the process, they have every right to go do that. Hopefully, to help the process, we don't go do that. Hopefully, we all come together as a community, as a country club, and we do the right thing. And to have a couple subcommittees with very talented people probably makes a lot of sense. And we're just going to have to look at that and discuss it and see where it goes from there. But is there anybody from a membership standpoint? I'm not going to put you on the block at this point. I mean, is there anybody to think that's not a bad idea? We all think it's probably a good idea, but we haven't talked about it. We will, though, very soon. Thank you. Good question.
Hi, my name is Phil Frazier, and my wife Connie and I live on Bramble Point since 2016. I have one comment and one question, I guess, for the group. This as-is issue is obviously a hot-button thing. I've talked with a lot of people. I've heard a lot of conversation. It was obvious today that it got the most reaction. I have been a member of the legal community for a long time, and I have a lot more reasons to not like lawyers than the rest of you, trust me. At least I have a lot more experience with it. But, and there's always a however in life, we are going to need legal help, consultation, our own. It's going to make it a lot easier for everybody to understand. I'll tell you with certainty, I don't know what the answer is, but the term as is, what it means is whatever the appropriate Florida court has said, what as is means in a similar situation. That's it. We need our own competent legal people to tell us that, so we at least have the peace of mind. It is going to be very important to have cohesiveness. That doesn't mean we all have to agree on everything all the time. In fact, it'll be a lot better off if we don't. But we do need to be pulling the oars the same direction. And this as-is thing is a good example of that. I forget who said it earlier, but, you know, the practice of law is a business. And there are going to be a lot of law firms who would be delighted to represent Twin Eagles down the road. And so it's not going to cost all of us. If all of us write a check for $75 or $100, I don't know what it would be, but to get a law firm looking at things and giving us the kind of really sound advice we need to help everybody, these folks and everybody, move the direction that we need to go. Because it's, like Dave said, it's going to happen. I mean, you know, this, whatever this mudslide is, it's on the way, and, you know, so we need to know what's going to happen with it. So my question is, at what point is Ronto going to make all of the financial information on operating the club available?
So, Andrea, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have asked for financial information. We have asked for 3 years of financial information. Ronto is in the process of auditing 2017 financials, and the goal is for us to receive those the first week of February, I believe. Is that correct? So the first week of February, which is only a couple weeks away, we will receive the financials from the Ronto Group for the last 3 years. Now, 3 years is good information, but we also, we got some smart people who have said, and I think they're probably right, this club's changed a lot in 3 years. So 3 years are important to look at trends. What does that mean going forward? And how do we start to put the documents together going forward? Okay? But they are going to release 3 years. They'd probably release more. We don't really see the value in going back more than 3 years at this point in time, but maybe there is. But they have been very upfront and very good about that, saying that they will release the audited financials to us for 2017, 16, and 15 as we move forward. Okay?
just in regard to the financial statements, I'd only issue this caution. I would agree with Dave that the last 3 years of history may or may not be that meaningful because this club's changing a lot. As we add more members, the dynamics of the revenue streams in particular continue to change. So we're going to have to do some projections. We have the budget submittal for 2018 that we're going to talk about. Andrea's putting that together for us. So to me, 2017 and the budget projection for 2018 are the most important pieces of that. And we've got commitments from Ronto to provide that. A point of caution, you know, Ronto is a private company, and I'm not sure, we haven't really been told at this point in time how we're going to get that information, in what form and in what degree of confidentiality. You can all appreciate Ronto's not going to want to hand out 700 copies of their financial statements as a private corporation and go down and see them in a bar somewhere on Route 41. You know, there's going to have to be some level of security with those. So, you know, we don't know what that is yet or how that information is going to be relayed to us. They'll give us the information, but I wouldn't necessarily expect to have audited financial statements in everybody's mailbox. We may, but we don't know yet.
Bill?
Thank you, Dave. My name is Bill Fry. I'm a very new resident here. I've been here for 1 year. My wife, Rhonda, and I just moved into Lockford Lane. Recently served and do serve on the ad hoc committee. My background is in the investment and financial world, and I hear just a huge opportunity here. I mean, we bought a house and a lot here and built, and we're being handed $12 billion in assets. I mean, this is a great opportunity. I totally agree with what I'm hearing. My question is not so much a question that I think can be answered here today, but I've heard, and I think Dave did the math, that calculates out to $20,000 a person, I think I heard, or $20,000 per home. I also heard that the replacement cost of this community would be 4 to 5 times that. Well, 4 to 5 times 20,000 is more like 80 to 100,000 each that we're possibly being handed here. Currently, there is no real value of our equity. I'm wondering what this opportunity really means in terms of the value of our golf membership here. We know Ronto's trying to pay $45,000 to anyone that'll sell their golf membership. So I guess my question is, and I'm not sure that the transition committee can answer this, but it will be an issue that the board will have to address, and what is the value of an initiation, equity or golf membership here? And how will that, I mean, as some of us age gracefully, we can't play golf anymore. Will we be able to sell that membership to someone that needs one, and what will the value of that be? And so that's a process that I think probably can't be determined until we have an elected board. But my question is that something that we should be discussing and maybe having some thoughts or alternatives in place?
So, Bill, again, I'm not an attorney. I can't use Barb Doolittle's line that I'm not a licensed attorney in Florida because I'm not an attorney. But I will tell you that you can sell your membership. You can sell your membership today. It may take value out of your house based on the way that we're organized as a community. And as we move forward, the new board of directors, you're right, may look at it differently. But I'm not sure that, and we need legal people to tell us how you go reverse 718 deeds to take this to a full golf equity membership. I'm not sure how you do that, but I'm sure it can be done. Anything can be done. But that's something for the board of directors to really look at. Do we want to go back to an equity club or not? And Your membership can be sold today. Ronto would gladly buy your membership from you for $45,000 today. Just so you know, Ronto is short 20 memberships for lots that they need to sell. And guess where those lots are? The high-value lots. Maidstone, the Lake Estates, and the Estates. They're 20 lots short, or 20 memberships short for those lots. That's just the fact. So if I was thinking, this is just me, if I was thinking about selling my membership, I'd wait. I wouldn't sell it for $45,000 today. They need 20, and they're selling those lots for over $500,000. So I would tell you that as we move forward, they're going to go try and figure out, my opinion, a way to get 20 more memberships out of us. That is an issue that we're going to have to deal with. You talk about issues. That's one. There are a number. What do we do? We're all going to have to come together as a group and go determine that. But you can see that, you can see a small light on the front of that freight train coming at us. Okay?
Hi, I'm Sherry Sivertson. I live on Dundee. We've been here since 2014. A couple of things that I think have come up. My biggest concern as we go through this is not just that we have information, but the information is complete and accurate. And if it's not and people don't know the answers, please admit it. You know, let us know that we're still working on it. I think, for example, people have said often, oh, I've been through a turnover before. Very few people have been through this kind of turnover. Speaking from the Master Association, and only for this point, I am saying that we are a successor board. The negotiations took place back in 2009 and 2010. We are the back end of that deal. We are making that deal come to fruition. We are not, however, going in and negotiating an entire new deal. And so I think a lot of people don't really understand that. And, you know, and I think it comes up when people say things like, wow, we're being given this gift of the club. No, that was part of the deal. In exchange for Ronto being able to come in here and sell all the lots and make all the money they did, they valued the club at a certain amount. It's a deal. We own it, and it's not being given to us. And so people who, you know, that's important to me, because every time I hear it, I feel like people think, you know, that we are being given something here. We all bought into it. I have had no dealings with Ronto that have been anything but positive and above board. I don't mean to suggest that I anticipate anything else happening, but keep in mind where we are in the process of this deal. And the other thing, and Cindy Garrison brought it up, I have worked in-house as counsel, I've worked outside as counsel, and I will tell you the best way for us to save a lot of money is to put together some professional subcommittee advisory groups, because I am probably unlike, you know, I mean, a number of us have done this. I've read and reread and reread and reread the documents. I'm pretty familiar with them. So rather than turning it over to a law firm and having them turn it over to 7 or 10 associates who read these things at $500 an hour and charge us a tremendous amount of money, I think we can streamline these issues as to what's on the table and get the best advice at the level we need the advice, not from the very beginning. So I think if we have engineers, if we have attorneys, and these people are willing to donate their time, you know, and accountants and others, It's not, we talk about we don't want to be left with no staff. Well, we certainly don't want to be left where we lose. You know, we have been designating people because of the position they have held, head of golf committee, held very valuable positions, don't get me wrong. But what we haven't done is try to target people who actually have the skill set, and in order to devote it, commit it to our community, are willing to do so. And sure, you can't get 5, 10 lawyers together without 5 or 10 opinions that come out of it, but at least we can streamline things. And so I want to reiterate what Cindy said in spades and say now is the time for us to get together, decide, you know, because just like we don't want to lose, you know, we're missing the people part of this. We're focusing on it on staff, but a lot more than that runs and or will help run and will keep the costs down tremendously on this turnover.
I'm Michael Bernberg. I've been in the community since 2008. I started out in Hollybrook, and now we live on Maidstone. So one of the things that I'm hearing, and I just want to make this clarified. First of all, I appreciate all the work that everybody has put in. I imagine it's grueling hours, and it takes you away from playing golf and other fun activities. So, you know, I can't understate my appreciation for you. The question I have, and kind of what I'm hearing, is it sounds like at this point in time, the membership has no one who has a fiduciary responsibility to them. The board is appointed by Ronto, RSM is in the pay of Ronto, so we have nobody who actually, and I say fiduciary because I come from the financial community. So I think personally that we need to have somebody who is beholding to us, who has a responsibility to us from a client relationship, as opposed to working through management, and the sooner the better. The question I have for the board is, how constrained are you just to communicate with us? Do you have to get a blessing from Ronto to send out a letter with the minutes that you did yesterday, or not yesterday, but last week? It seems like, you know, if Ronto doesn't want to give us financials, we don't get financials. I'm not saying that they're going to not do it. If Ronto doesn't want us let us do an engineering study, we don't get an engineering study. So I really think we need to have somebody who is beholding to us as the members. And I'm not sure exactly how we go about doing that. Dave said that if we wanted to, on our own, independent of Ronto, we could start setting up some subcommittees. I can understand where that could get very messy. But I really think that we need to have some communication as to, I don't want to wait till 30 days before the trigger date to start having people representing us. And, you know, so anyhow, my question is about the communication.
Communication. Well, we send out our ATB minutes as quickly as we possibly can. We're having a meeting where you can all go ask questions. Maybe we can do a better job how we communicate, but we're trying our best to communicate to the membership. I'm sure there are other ideas that we can use. If we haven't communicated well enough, then we have to work harder at it. But we're 30 days in. We've sent out ATB minutes. We're having an all-member meeting to ask the questions. We'll try and get better. But I've never been a part of any organization that people don't think you can communicate better. All I can say is that we're trying. We'll try and do a better job. The committee ideas, you know, we all think that's a really good idea. There's a lot of talented people. We want to draw on those resources. We're 30 days into it. I don't know what else to say. I didn't take it as a criticism. I mean, you'd have to get a lot deeper for me to get my feelings hurt, or anyone else on this board. We've all been through it. You know, our feelings don't get hurt. I'm just trying to answer the question the best that I can, that we understand that communication to this group is very, very key, and we look to have more meetings like this so that you can ask questions as we move forward. This isn't the last of these meetings. There are going to be more of them so that you can all understand what we understand. That's how we get through it together. Okay? Peter? Frank wants to add on to that.
Regarding the ease of communication from our end and Ronto and the management, as I said, I'm new to Twin Eagles and new to this group, but after our meeting, we are sent the minutes, and we're asked to comment on them, make changes. I can say that in my experience, every change we've asked for, rewording, addition, thus far has been reflected in what you all see in those documents. So far, the communication has been pretty easy and straightforward. I hope it continues that way.
My name is Peter Reifsnyder. I live on Wisteria with my wife, Gail. Quick question having to do with the Chubb Classic. I sent a message to the board suggesting that the Chubb Classic may be a perceived advantage or a liability, an asset or a liability. I'm not sure which. Some people like it, some people don't. Their answer was basically they were going to address it at turnover. My comment is at turnover, it'll be too late to do anything, whether we want to continue with the Chubb Classic or not. My suggestion was that we ought to have a vote for the members here as to whether they like it or whether they don't like it. And if they do like it, we should address the situation and find out whether it's advantageous to have it financially or not. But if we wait till turnover, the asset, if it's an asset, will go by the boards. I don't think that should happen. Thank you.
So, Peter, I guess that's a question. The ATB has no authority to commit to the Chubb Classic for the membership. We're an advisory committee. That's all we are. We advise. We have said that we don't understand, we haven't seen the financials, what it cost us, the club. Ronto backs that. We don't know what the cost is, and I don't think anyone would advise to go do something without understanding the dollars associated with it. Whether it's good for us or not, you don't know when you don't know what it costs. And so the reason we said to deal with it at turnover, that's a board of directors question. That they will have the authority to go do it. We don't have the authority today, and we don't know what the cost associated with the Chubb is. And there are members that feel as though it would be fun to have. There are just as many, I'll bet, on the other side that are like, they take up my tea times. If I want to play with old guys, I'll go play with my friends. So. So people line up on both sides of it, and from our standpoint, until we understand the financials connected to it, I'm not sure that we can make a recommendation one way or the other. And I know it's probably not the answer you want to hear, but that's how us on the ATB feel about it at this point in time. Okay? And
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Richards, and I was hoping that someone could describe to the group who makes the decision about the composition of the new board. How many directors will there be? Will they all be directors at large? Will they be so many from certain communities or what have you?
So I guess the answer is we don't know. We're not that far. As we get into what the governance of the documents are going to look like for the new board, we will make a recommendation. Based on that recommendation, I'm sure that we'll have an election, and at that point in time, the new board can change, however many there are. I think that what you have to think about, though, this is my opinion, there's no neighborhood associated with this country club. We all live in neighborhoods, but this is a country club. This is a club that we all joined, and it doesn't matter where you live. All right? I will only give you one thought that sticks with me for a long time, the first time I met Jim Sullivan, Big Jim. And Jim and I were talking, and I asked Jim what he did. And he said, Dave, the easiest way for me to describe it to you, when I was in Chicago, I was old and wealthy. When I moved to Naples, I became young and poor. We are all members of this club, and when we walk in the doors of this club, I've not met anybody that really cares about what they have, where they've been. We're all members. We'll make a decision as to a recommendation. We will make a recommendation to the new board of directors as how many there are. We'll have an election around that, and we'll move forward from there. So that's the best answer I can give you at this point in time. Anybody have anything else to add to that? That's kind of where we're at. We don't know yet, but we're moving in that direction.
Hello, Neil Halliday again. I don't know if this is so much a question as perhaps a statement. The accountant in me, which is always there, says the day before turnover, Ronto is paying all of the bills. On the day of turnover, we inherit a bunch of current liabilities and a bunch of hard assets that have value, but you can't spend those readily. And then the day after turnover, the members have to pay all the bills. That means that we inevitably have to have a source of cash, and that will have to be thought about in advance of turnover. And I guess I would encourage the committee, whenever way it can, to think about the strategies, not only with respect to getting money for paying bills, but also getting money to pay for lawyers. Because if we have not got a strategy to do that, and we haven't accumulated a war chest, if you like, then Ronto will have the ability to use that in negotiations against us. They could say, okay, you guys are going to need some money to go through turnover, to pay your bills on day one. We'll give you a fixed amount of money, but let everything else go away. So it's just me encouraging you to think about this in advance rather than too late.
Thanks, Neil. And that is a very important part that we all have to understand moving forward. I mean, we've had people just on the board say, I don't know if I'm going to want to pay my dues in November. Well, you know, that's on top of all of our minds. How do we go do that? Are those dues going to be escrowed so they start January 1? I don't know. Those are a lot of the things that we got to go figure out. And who wants to turn over $12,500 to Toronto, to the club, and now know where they go? You know, those are things that we're going to have to figure out, and how do we escrow it, and how do we move forward with that? And so we're going to need additional help to go do that. If 10 of us are smarter than me, which their 10 are way smarter than us, 100 members are smarter than the 10 of us up here. And so we're going to need input. We're going to need to stay positive. We're going to look for your help. We ask you to ask questions, please. Please continue to ask the questions. Please do your best to stay positive. All right? So with that, yeah, Dean? One more thing from Dean. After Dean's done, we'll be almost 2 hours in. And unless there's somebody that thinks that they have the next best gift, we're going to call the meeting at that point in time.
Thank you. Dean Pickley again. First of all, I know every one of these people on the transition board, and Ronto did us a great service by picking these people, okay? They're all very level-headed people. And I think if we were picking a board, we could not have picked a better board than we have right here, right now, the transition board. I'm going to go back to the legal and financing, Dave. I was here when we funded the focus committee, okay? And I know not everybody gave, a lot of people didn't give, okay, which is not fair. But I think that the focus, that your transition board, I'm sorry, does not have the authority to promise a law firm that they're going to get paid by the new board, okay? So really, the only way that we can get going on financial inspections, type like that, is for us to fund the transition board to go ahead and do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. And I will tell you that there's been a lot of conversation about that. And there are members that feel good about the focus group. There are members that know nothing about the focus group. The focus group is an LLC. It's a legal entity. And if we choose, I'm not saying that's the avenue that we go, but it's an avenue open to us to go use the focus group, the LLC, to go write our money to and to go fund it if we want to go do that. And now they may say, no, we don't want to do that. We have to get their opinion, but that's an opportunity for us to go do, is to use the focus group again, because they are in place. It is an LLC, and they probably have director's insurance because they're pretty smart people. Make sure that they do that. So I just want to say thank you to Andrea for letting us do this. We appreciate that. What? Question. Where's the question? Oh.
Hi, Lori Sunshine. One question about the as-is that I've been thinking about since I was back there. So if we get it as is, what's preventing Ronto from saying next summer, we don't want to maintain anything anymore because we don't really care? We're turning it over and just leave it, you're responsible afterwards.
No, I can give the short answer. The short answer is, that's what we get. The long answer is, at this point in time, we just went through a major storm, and you can still see Ronto's commitment to take care of the property. They're rebuilding things. I can't foretell the future, as nobody can. But all I can do is look at what's happened in the past and hope that it happens in the future. And so if something happens, there's insurance in place. I believe that they would continue to go do it. But, our legal minds that are here will help us. And I've heard some of them say, we'll go find out what's happened before in Florida in an as-is condition. We'll just go find out. And we'll do the best that we can. And that's something we don't know today. But, as is as is. And we'll find people to help us go understand better what that truly means. And I'm sure that they're willing to help us go do that. That's the best I can answer you. So thank you all very much for your time. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.